bid. So we're hoping throughout all of this, it's just been a really long process.
So what was the remainder, the amount that was issued to you from the commission? What was the remainder that you had left to work with?
Well, it was $6,000, approximately $6,000 for the high school project. And that money, we went ahead and bid, and street was low bid, but we're not pursuing because we need to, this project has got to be finished.
So you're just going to take that money and...
We are not doing that at this time. That will be a conversation with you at a later time.
So where are you holding that money?
It's just we just have the whole amount in a CD right now.
It's in a CD?
Yes, over, I believe it's at Bank of Wilson, but, Wilson State Bank, but I'm not for sure, don't quote me on that. But that money is just being held, so, we won't use that $6,000, that's the money you gave us, that will be your decision whether you allow us to use it for that project, so. I just wanted to come in and update you, so you should see some movement in that, people coming into the community, and I think.
Primarily doing the windows, right? Yeah.
They are doing the windows. I don't have any information on the windows. All I do is
just other stuff.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. I don't. I mean, that is going to be a sub through streets because they bid the whole project,
Okay.
and so I haven't seen any of those subcontracts. So, as more information as we start this process, I'm sure that you'll be getting more information. I leave at the end of June, so the new superintendent will be hopefully up to speed, and she'll be coming to the meetings. But if there's any information between now and the end of June, I'll surely bring that to you. So I'm just glad we got a contract signed and we are starting. So I have a feeling this is going to go into the school year, and I really hate to see that. I don't think they're going to be able to get it done in 3 months. So anyway, any other questions? Okay, thank you so much. Appreciate it. We'll see you
Good
later.
luck in your future.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, Central Kansas Mental Health.
Good morning.
Good morning.
The timing's good because May is Mental Health Month.
All
So
right.
there you go. And here are the packets. And I have an annual report for you and then a budget presentation. There you go. So I'll start with the colored one first and give you the annual report for our agency, which covers 5 counties. And then we'll go specifically into what we're doing for Lincoln County. Basically, one of the new initiatives that we have, and the first couple pages are going to kind of get you familiar with what we've been up to lately. But a couple things have happened. The parity law passed federally for mental health to have parity with medical. And then we have telemedicine has passed in Kansas, and which should help us with access in the future. There are some hang-ups. They didn't put any funding with the telemed, so there's still a little bit to be worked out there, but it's coming along. Mental health, as we've talked about in the past, is something that we need to be working on mind and body. So medical and mental health together make for a healthy community. So we've been working a lot on what are the needs of Lincoln County, and what are the needs of the whole area. So the highlight for the agency has been suicide and depression. Suicide and depression has risen 45% since the last CDC report. Kansas is one of the highest.
Which was how long ago?
I believe it was 2016 to 2018.
It's 45% increase in 2 years?
Yes.
In Kansas or nationwide?
Nationwide, we're very close with nation, but we're higher in terms of the younger ones. So when it comes to, I think it's 12 to 35, we're expanding even faster. So students. One of the things that to know about us is that in order to be very conservative with our spending and get the most bang for our buck, and to be able to give the best access that we possibly can and the quality both, everything we do, we review best practices and try to. And the research on mental health is really coming in strong now. And so we're learning every day. You know, the medical field's over 150 years old, where the psychiatric field's only, 50 years old. So it's kind of in its infancy. So we're learning a lot with research, and it's important to stay progressive on the newest and best techniques that get the best results. So we have over 50 best practices that we're using. Everything we do, any new program we do, a couple things we're requiring. One is that we measure its progress, and so that we know, so that we're doing things that are working for communities and not wasting resources. The other thing that we're doing is making sure that they are best practices that are proven to get results. So we did the same kind of research for suicide, came up with our sister agencies across, we're one of 26. Together we cover Kansas. We ended up with a best practice that's internationally and nationally recognized. The nice thing about that is that because there's a shortage of behavioral health professionals, this takes a community approach. And it's a community problem. One of the things is we see people hurting, we see people isolating, we see people depressed. They may even say things like, I don't want to wake up in the morning. Our farmers have a huge increase in suicide. And how do you even have that conversation? It's one of the most awkward things to address, and it's easier to just ignore. And so one of the things we adopted was a best practice called Assist, and that is a 2-day class for anyone. It's working. We're getting great feedback from primary care doctors, nurses, teachers, parents, clergymen, the community in general. It's kind of it fits everything, and it goes over the signs and symptoms, but it also gives you a lot of hands-on practice to gain confidence in addressing it, so that if you see it, one of the things we know is that 70% of those who attempt their first suicide have not reached out to a loved one or a professional. And so how do we penetrate that? It's a community issue. It takes a community approach. So in educating the community, folks are feeling more confident to actually go have the conversation, to talk about it. One thing that research has recently dispelled is that, gosh, if I bring it up, will that put it in their mind and make them more apt to follow through with something? No, it doesn't. Talking about it is the start. That's the first step. So that's one of the things we've been up to. Mental health first aid we've been doing for a while. That's still one of the best ways that we have found to recognize individuals with risk and help them get connected. We have free depression and anxiety screenings, and May is Mental Health Month, so Debbie's coming up here Wednesday. She'll be providing those again. And then another...
In the health department?
I believe so. And then another pronged approach, so it's kind of a 3-pronged approach, is how do we improve access? So if people aren't coming to us, but they're texting each other, where can we reach people? So another initiative we've been doing is taking mental health into the schools and offering on-site services. What we find when we can partner with the school system is that they know which kids are showing at-risk behavior. And then if we can get them identified and get them through the school, we're not waiting on a family to get them to services or any stigma that might be associated and that sort of thing. So that's been helping, to the tune of, we were invited to be part of a legislative pilot because of the progressive nature of what we've been doing. So we're one of 4 or 5 pilot sites in Kansas. And and that's been Dickinson County and all the school districts. We have also been opening it up to our other school districts. So we've started in Lincoln and Saline County and Tescott and Bennington and so forth. One of the things that we have learned, we ask the schools to measure for us how we're doing and hand that to us so that it's good, pure data that we can learn from. One of the things we know is out of the schools that did measure how we did last year with this, improved school attendance, 83% with the kids we provided services to. That's unheard of. I thought that's a typo. But that's, apparently they were leaving for medical appointments and whatnot and not coming back. And so having the services on site has increased their attendance. And we know that that's one of the strongest indicators of success in making it through school is attendance. Improved academic performance for those that we met with in the schools was 76% increase, and improved behavior was 94%. That's not just, hey, do you think the teachers rate them on whether they improved? That's a standardized tool called the Sabers that we use. Missouri schools adopted this, and we followed suit with that. So 94% in behavior. We also have been working in Lincoln County a lot on outreach and what are the needs, how can we do better, what's missing, what resources already exist so we're not duplicating, and how do we bring community together. Lincoln has some great community leaders in it, some wonderful resources, and trying to kind of figure out how we can work together and not against each other to and duplicate. We don't want to duplicate anything anyone else is doing because that's not cost effective for you. Lincoln uses a lot of services that are offered in Salina as well. And it's not that we want to build in Salina. If it were up to me, I would have full service areas everywhere we go. The problem I run into in trying to do that is labor force. We just don't have the labor force to run the magnitude of some of the services. So for instance, we opened a youth center for kids that the hospitals are too far away if they need a psychiatric hospital, and we can divert those and keep them in school a lot of the time and keep them keep the work going with the families so that we're really affecting positive outcomes and not just sending the child away for treatment. So we said we can do better than sending them to a hospital that far away. So we opened up the Martin Center. It serves youth in a 4-bed unit, and 31% expansion because the community has received it so well and we've gotten such great feedback. It has continued to expand. And Lincoln residents do use this service. But because I have to staff them around the clock, that's why it's in Salina. So I would really like to invite you guys to come down for a tour and see the Salina and some of those things that are there because your residents are using them, and we want you to know about them and see what's going on.
When you have listed services by county breakdown with the numbers, does that number doesn't represent an individual, it represents how would you say that?
The service.
The number of services, those are strictly therapeutic services. So that doesn't count everything else. If you put
But I'm saying you have, Saline County is 57,374. Well, I think that's even more than their population is. So you're saying that's a numeric that represents how many interactions there have been between someone and...
What are you looking at?
I was just looking at your 2018
Page 5.
statistics.
Under services by county?
Yeah.
Yeah, like Ottawa County is 2,851, but Lincoln is 704.
Right, that's the number of services for the county.
Right, so that's not 704 people. That's
Right.
704 times that someone has come in contact with Central Kansas Mental
Yeah,
Health
correct.
for a service. So it could be 5 people, 704 times.
Yeah, it wouldn't be. Our auditors wouldn't allow that.
But it could be one person 4 or 5 times, maybe.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
So you'd have that. There
No,
might-
I'm just saying that's not a numeric representation
It's-
of a person.
this
It's
is
of
not-
how, if you were
this
a
is number of
client, you may meet
services,
weekly,
not-
so that's 52 times per person.
Yeah, this
Okay.
is number of services, not number of clients.
But it's also not the number of services, like 754 or 704 different services. It's just how many times a person from Lincoln has met.
It's
with
only
a-
therapeutic services. So what I'm gonna get to in a little bit is all the other services that we're providing. Like we don't count any of the parent support or the educational, the trainings, the collaborative, strategic planning, and the depression screens, anxiety screens, all those. And I can break that down a little bit for you when we get to Lincoln County.
Well, when you look at it, and Ottawa County doesn't have that much higher of a population than we do, somewhat, but that number difference is huge. What do you think that represents?
Yeah, a lot of that is the community being on the same page. And if I can put that on hold,
Sure, go ahead.
I'll wait and I'll get to the Lincoln part, but that's a really good question to get to. one of the things that we want to do is we want to measure everything that we're doing and make sure that what we're doing is valuable to the community. Our satisfaction responses have gone up to 99% favorable responses for our services now. We even measured telemedicine because, we get a little bit of concern that might not be as effective. So we measured that independently, and we got a 94% favorable rate on that. And we added gene site testing. We added a lab. We added a therapeutic pilot for 3 and 4-year-olds who have been kicked out of multiple daycares. And we're piloting that into Salina to see how it goes. It's been so successful. Now we can start
What are they
looking
being
at
removed from daycare for?
behaviors. Pulling, kicking, scratching, drawing blood. What we know is that this is all from a needs assessment that we do with each community. What we know across the state is that teachers are saying their most violent kids are not the older kids anymore. It's the kindergartners coming in. They're not prepared to learn. And they're the ones that are kicking, biting, pulling hair out, leaving bruises. And so we talked about that and are piloting this therapeutic preschool along with a grant. We're partnering with the Special Ed Co-op and the school and Head Start to all do this. Also kids who have been kicked out of regular preschool.
So it's to take
It's to prepare them for
But what you're saying is that
kindergarten.
if this child has been displaced due to behavioral problems, you're taking all the children that have been displaced and putting them in one facility together.
We are taking 8 students into a therapeutic arena. So you have, we use a model of conscious discipline. We use all therapeutic models. We have a therapist on site. We have family. Has a very active family component to it.
So this is almost the opposite of what we've done with IEPs in the public school system. Whereas we would put someone who has either behavioral or learning issues in with the general population and give them a personal assistant, you're actually, it's kind of like the reversal of that.
No, because I see what you're saying.
Oh.
And the difference is that once they're in school, they need certain supports available to them. Prior to getting into school, these are kids who don't have anywhere to go. People are having to not work and stay home to take care of their kids because they have no daycare to
I'm
put
just
them
talking
in.
about the philosophy of it, not the logistics of it. I'm saying the philosophy is take the ones that need that additional attention, that need that support system, et cetera, and you're combining them into a group that's going to all receive similar services rather than keeping each child in that general populace by locale and then taking services to them.
Yeah, no, actually, we're taking the kids who have no resource period. They are not able to be in daycare and they're not welcome in preschools. We're trying to catch the kids that are falling through the cracks. And so that's what we're bringing in and saying, how can we do this and get them ready for kindergarten? Mm-hmm. And so with that, we thought that we were trying to get them ready for kindergarten. We opened in September and we've already started having successes to the point that we're transitioning these kids back early into preschool. Mm-hmm. And we've had our first...
in the middle of the year?
Well, we started in September, and in January, we already were transferring one back to regular
for the last
preschool.
semester.
He has done great in preschool, and he was not welcome in preschool anymore. So he's already back in. So this is a
taking the child
model.
out of that preschool environment.
We did not take them out. They were kicked out. They were already at home with no
But
support.
instead of sending one of your staff members to be with that person in their classroom to try to accommodate them in that environment and coach them along, you're actually removing them from the environment that they would have been in otherwise.
We also do what you're talking about. We go into schools and we work with them where they're at.
So how is that
We're
working
catching-
in comparison is my question.
Yeah, so that's what we're doing with removing the access barrier and going into schools and doing our work. So we just talked about that being one prong. Another prong.
Do you do that with preschoolers too and kindergartners, or?
Yeah.
So I'm asking philosophically, what has been the advantage, disadvantage, et cetera, of taking one of your staff members and assigning them to someone in the location where they are supposed to be physically because of their locale,
That's
where
the
they're
idea.
registered to school,
We are trying to get them,
versus gathering those children up and putting them in the situation that you provided where they're all together.
Yeah.
That's what I'm getting at. What's the difference there?
the whole thing is about getting them into the regular school environment. So when they can't be,
So which one's acclimating faster? The person that you're pulling out and giving this isolated individual, basically
you have two populations of kids. You have a population of kids who are currently in the system and in there, and they need supports. So we provide that. You have another population who are expelled.
So those are just the...
And this is the group that was not getting attention. And they were going into kindergarten with nothing. And so this has become a bigger need.
So it's a percentage of the kids who still have those types of support needs, but it's actually the percentage that is most extreme. Is that...
Yeah, well, that would be up to whatever the rules are of the schools and the daycares who don't allow them in. Not to us. We'll serve anyone in the community wherever they're at. But for the ones who were not welcome in the community settings that would be normal for their age, we're trying to cover a gap that was there.
But what I'm hearing is if you can do that kind of repair work in one semester, that's the method and the psychological impact that has the most, how do you want to say it, that has the most efficiency, apparently.
Absolutely. Prevention and early intervention is going to gain you a lot in savings. One of the things that we know is that by reaching these kids earlier, they're going to have a more successful, if they can have a more successful kindergarten year, they're going to do better in school all along.
So is there going to be an attempt to try that at upper levels?
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying? I mean, I understand you're saying that early intervention is key, but let's say you already have a group of fourth graders that are on that part of the scale. You know, right now what we're doing is leaving them in the classroom wherever they are and providing assistance to them in the classroom instead of removing them, putting them in an environment where they have this specialized attention and then reintegrating. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We used to do that when I was in school. I'm not that old. And when I was in school, that's how it was done. If you couldn't keep up in the class for behavior, or even if you were having learning problems, they would put you in an environment with others so that you could try to catch up to speed, and then you could be reintegrated. The last 10, 15 years, it's been
inclusion.
Yeah.
So that's an educational philosophy.
But it's behavioral too. If you ask any teacher, I have plenty of friends that are teachers, it's always behavioral, which ends up in resulting in a lesser educational value because they can't absorb the information, but it starts with behavioral.
Right. One example is that one of the alternative schools in Salina is closing because of the work that we're doing in the schools. They're closing, putting them back in because there are more now therapeutic supports in the schools to help those kids.
Special ed, spec ed type kids, right?
Yeah.
But what's the alternative?
The inclusion and exclusion thing, that's partly legislative, that's partly Department of Ed. Yeah, that's
absolutely
more than.
What do you do like to a little child, say kindergartner, that would be having a problem, what do you guys do that helps them that regular kindergarten or preschool couldn't do? What do you do?
When they're already in kindergarten?
Well, or specifically, if they've been kicked out of preschool.
The program that you're
running. How do you
The
help
program
them?
that we're running is using things like conscious discipline. We have a strong family component, so we're transferring the skills that the children are learning to the family so that the family's also learning the same skills and learning how to use those skills effectively in the home as well.
I see.
And we
So a little
also
more
provide
family
therapy and case management and parent support. We have parent support activities, and there's a multitude of
In other words,
services.
common sense, huh? You're applying the old good.
I would say yes.
In other words, the lifestyle, family life we grew up with, or I should say, where but really family unit and community unit.
The core,
a lot of that's disintegrating in our general public now, and
That's
you're
exactly
just applying a lot of that what we were trained to have. In other words, caring about each other. Common in my class, I shouldn't call it common.
and learn the skills that maybe aren't
Make
getting
you
passed on as
successful.
well.
Give it a positive environment, not a negative environment.
Absolutely.
Yeah. In other words, give them praise of a little child instead of criticism. All
Right.
that stuff. Yeah, all that.
Right.
Go ahead, Alexis.
Well, I was just on that line. Does
Yeah.
the family voluntarily interact, or is that kind of something that if...
That is something they have to agree to up front.
Okay.
And we tell them we'll give you all the support to do it, but
Family has to buy
Is
into
there
it.
some-
you
kind of-
gotta participate.
If
Yeah.
you're
Because we're building programs that get results
Yeah,
and outcomes, and we know that the family has to be a part of that.
So is there some sort of mandate that goes along with that? Like if your child is expelled from kindergarten and let's say they're 7, so they legally have to be enrolled, then, so this is all just
This is voluntary.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
So
One of
how do you
our
reach
CASA workers just reached out and sent a thank you card, for example, saying we've never seen anything like this. This whole family's dynamics have changed. This kid's being successful. Thank you for this. And so we're figuring out, hey, we're doing it. Now, therapeutic preschools have been tried around the state. The problem with them are that they're not financially sustainable. But a lot of times people are trying to do them on their own. Mental health centers have tried to do them on their own. Schools have tried to do them on their own. Special ed co-ops have tried to do them on their own. What we're trying to do that's unique is to say, let's really sit at the table, and instead of saying we don't do that, we all came to the table saying we have an issue. We're going to open our minds and we're going to try to figure out, and we're going to learn from each other about how your systems work and how your funding works, and say how's the best. How can we fund this in a way that it's sustainable? And so the way we do that is the special ed co-op brings in the para, the Head Start program brings in the teacher, we bring in a certified play therapist and a case manager, and then we're blending that funding to make it work. We're using the free lunch program to continue it over the summer, because that was the other thing is, guys, we can't do this just 9 months a year.
How do you get the
We're going to get
parents?
them ready for kindergarten. We got to be working with them over
Do you
the
do
summer.
evening hours, or how do you get the parents there?
Yeah, we have activity nights and parent nights, and then we do in-home family therapy and things like that.
now somebody
Yeah,
wanted
that's
to
interesting.
say
That
had
should be
a
applied.
mental
Up to
concern.
12, grade 12.
If someone had like a mental concern, would they have to go to their doctor and then deal with you, or can it come directly to
Never.
you?
They can, we'll take them through any door we
Because
give.
sometimes I think people, the common people, and I was one because I haven't been involved in this, how to contact you people, or how to
Where
Just
the
be involved.
information
See, a lot of
is.
people, the common people, a lot of times don't even know a lot of this program exists.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and I've been there almost 6 years, and I can tell you, I don't know what it was before, but the way it is now is you call us. That's it. That gets the door open, and we'll take walk-in or appointment. So whatever works for your schedule. The first appointment to get you in, if they walk in, we're going to make sure. Well, one of the things we did was we separated our crisis department from our regular plan therapists. They were getting burnt out, and they were tired if they worked overnight. We have 24/7. This is all they do. And so we can take those walk-ins much better access than what we used to have.
Where is that facility that you just started doing that program in September?
The K-Prep?
Is that what it's called?
K-Prep, yeah, it's taking place on the Heartland Preschool campus. It had 4 kids this year, and we're expanding to 8 kids next year. So overall, we had a 6% increase in services. We had a 25% increase in youth skill building groups. This helps them learn to self-regulate their own emotions and operate more independently. 7% increase in client access to medication. That is a huge success compared to the rest of the state, because there is such a shortage of psychiatrists that prescribe medication for mental illness. 70% of them are at retirement age. This is why us being proactive with the telemedicine, we can always put someone in the seat faster, so we don't have gaps in service like what used to occur. So if you look at new clients that are coming in, and the total new clients on that statistics page was 16%. I can tell you in Lincoln it's been 19%. So we're getting a better trajectory here in Lincoln, and I very much hope that continues. It does take a lot of community collaboration to figure out how to break down the barriers and the stigma in Lincoln, but that's how we've adjusted our need to Lincoln, is being heavy on those services, and so that we can have a brighter future for you. The next 2 pages talk about what are our clients saying about us and what are our community partners saying about us. I won't read all those to
Have you
you.
been having good cooperation with our local schools and other entities here?
It's getting better.
Yeah.
I will say that, yes. And Kathy Robertson has helped to do that. So I was sorry to see that she's leaving, but we will sit down with the next person and try to keep going. Financial summary. This kind of lets you know where we're at. 77% of all of our funding is simply fee for service. So it's insurance, billing insurance, Medicaid, Medicare. The small amount that we get from state and county are for to fund the uninsured and those who don't have the ability to pay an underinsured. And if you
have a budget on here, or
nope, well, this is our overall budget, is our revenue and expenses, how
Where
it's
is that?
turned out. So
Like the county.
no, that's not the budget.
we budget
though.
in October
Oh, yeah.
for the following
Oh, you don't have a
year.
budget prepared until October.
Correct. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So how do you know if the counties have to do their budget?
Your county is for our 2020. Your county, you're preparing a budget for 2020, so
Right.
we get your answer first, and then we plug that into our.
Okay, you get pledges from the counties before
Yes.
you do your annual budget.
Yes,
I
correct.
see what you're saying.
Correct.
So this is your estimated need.
So
Um,
17 to 20%, 17 to 21%, uninsured went up 4% last year. It went up 4% the year before. The funding is not growing with the demand or the number of uninsureds that we have. One of the things that makes us different as a community mental health center is that every dollar that we have at the end of the year, it gets reinvested into new programs, which is why we've been able to open K-Prep, the therapeutic preschool, and bring in assist trainers and best practices. And then because of that, we also are lucky enough to get audited constantly from about 6 different directions. And so you could be assured that we pass our audits. We're always above state average and our outcomes, and you can be assured that we are being looked at to make sure that what we're giving is quality service. We also have a new board member for Lincoln,
Oh, I see.
who
You
is
have numbers on this one. I missed that. You have numbers
Yeah.
on your expenses.
Galen Zier is new board member for Lincoln County, in case you didn't know. And I'll just go right into now the Lincoln budget request and give you some
How many employees do you have?
150
150?
mhm,
And that's
and
it's
growing.
the counties that you listed here, right? There's the ones that were on that
5 counties.
5 counties.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yes, so I'm going to give you a little update on state funding and county funding. So state funding was cut significantly twice in the last 2 decades, and some in between, but not as deep. The legislature restored it last year to just under 2006 funding levels. That's where we're operating at, 2006 funding levels. If you do a quick Google an inflation calculator, you'll see that inflation during that time has gone up about 17%. And that is something that we're having to eat, which makes it a lot harder to have anything to invest in building programs or access. The Medicaid rates that we get reimbursed from have not been updated in behavioral health since 2008. And that's not just for us, that's for any private practitioner. 2008, so we're over a decade on not getting a raise in Medicaid, and the problem with that is that we have a lot of Medicaid, but we also have a lot of other insurance companies who base their rates on Medicaid and Medicare rates.
So you have total client base for 2018 was 4,072.
Yes.
So how many for Lincoln? I don't think it said that. It just
I-
said 19%
yeah, I don't
increase.
I think that's in there. The services that they got, we affected 500,
Do you know how many clients?
400, about 400 and
400 people from Lincoln County.
about 400 residents receive services. Not all of those residents are clients. The reason is we're 24/7 crisis access, whether you're a client or not.
But
we
you're
serve
saying
you.
400 some different people from Lincoln County?
Yes, we're affected by some of our services in one way or another.
That's quite a bit.
It's
We only have 3,100 people. in
Yeah,
Oklahoma.
that's interesting.
It's getting
to
better.
me.
It's getting better. Ideally, we'd be doing a 1 to 4 ratio because we know statistically that's approximately the need. But there isn't any county in Kansas that I don't think nationally they're even penetrating that far. Not all of those are receiving therapeutic services, though. I want to be clear about that. We have a lot of trouble with stigma or people being afraid to even let their kids come into counseling, or
Well, no, I was just looking at your numbers.
So.
It's a $9 million budget for your 4,000 clients served, and you're saying 400 people potentially from Lincoln County.
yeah, now the 4,000 served, those are just clients.
Clients. That's okay. So how many clients in Lincoln County?
That I didn't bring with me.
Okay, that'd be
Yeah.
interesting to know. I've
Yeah,
asked for
yeah.
this every year that you guys come. I ask every year, and you guys never give me the numbers of how many people come to Lincoln County.
I think I sent them to you after the
You
fact. last
did
year.
after
Yeah,
the fact.
yeah,
It's just interesting that it's not part of your presentation because counties like us, I mean, a $18,000 donation for us to not know how many people were actually, you know, we can't
Yeah.
afford to support Saline County, is
So-
what I'm saying.
So you're not supporting Saline County.
Well, there's
What you are supporting-
57,000, the number for Saline County is 57,374, and the number for Lincoln is 704. So if you were to do that percentage, if you total up the 77,000 and take 700
Now that's
out of
just
the...
therapeutic services. We do a needs assessment every year with Lincoln County to look at what the need is.
Well, you could subdivide all those into every category. I'm just saying, without the numbers, you don't know. So if I don't know how many people are clients versus receive services
But it's
in
not
Lincoln
about
County.
just clients. The problem with
But
Lincoln,
you said we're subsidizing. You said the whole reason you need county money is to pay for those who don't have insurance. That's what you said a little bit ago.
to pay for Lincoln County residents who don't have insurance.
But we don't know how many those are. So it's kind of interesting.
You would know how many in your county don't have insurance, and then 1 to 4 probably need services.
But we don't know. That's what I'm saying. We don't know that.
Okay.
It'd be interesting to know.
Okay. Well, if you look at a population, you would know how many are in the poverty level, for instance,
Uh-huh.
what your poverty level is
Uh-huh.
in your population. So, one of the things with the Lincoln County assessment has been that we offer services, we're always ready to grow, but the referrals are not coming in as strong as they are in other counties. We know the need's growing, we know it's growing out here, but trying to get them connected.
Well, how do you know
Has
there
been-
aren't referrals to like private organizations? I mean, there are private providers for mental health.
Correct.
So, how do you know?
There are very little providers outside of urban areas, but yeah.
But I'm saying, but you don't. Central Kansas Mental Health doesn't necessarily know how many people in Lincoln County are seeking mental health services from private providers. You just know how many are seeking mental health services from this government-funded program.
Yeah, so in our needs assessment, what we look at is what access do you have? There's one other private provider that provides mental health centers here, provides mental health services here. If they want that, if they're going to get that discounted rate, private providers do not even have to do that. So we need to make sure that people have the access that they need to us. The issue with that is funding that support, but the issue in Lincoln has been very specific and different than our other counties,
Which is?
to the tune of that there has been a lot less, the need is identified, but the referral sources that we usually have aren't sending referrals.
Which is where?
So
The
schools,
doctors or what?
doctors' offices, and when you have, you had some doctors, one just retired or left recently. When the school of thought on mental health has changed over the years, and so sometimes it takes a little while to get to rural areas if you don't have those champions. one of your biggest champions, I think, is LaDonna, who is great at
She's a
referring
referral
and
resource.
and Steve Granzo has been very active with us in terms of partnering. But those partnerships, and the schools are where a lot of the referrals come from, but they have to get parent consent. And it's when it hits that, it's between your community people and the parent consent that somehow we're having some trouble in there. And so we're trying to figure out what those issues are and how we can break through those. So sometimes what we have to do is have a lot of collaborative meetings and work with people to identify and assessments. One of the things we did was support trauma-informed community in Lincoln, Kansas, in Lincoln County, to bring in a specialist to have an open forum for the community to talk about the health of a community and how to be trauma-informed and how to hook people up. Mental health first aid classes, assist classes. Now the good news is that in the past there hasn't been as much participation in those. This year, I think there were 9 mental health first aid classes that Lincoln County participated in. So that's huge progress. That's going to start breaking down the stigma. That's going to start opening up families to start trusting. The other thing we try to do for Lincoln, because of our individualized strategic plan for Lincoln County, is that we have found that if they see you as an outsider, they're less likely to come and get help. And so we have someone who's a little more of a resident in this area now who's providing those services, and it's Josie, and the referrals are.
She's from here. I don't know her.
She's from Ellsworth, Lincoln area. Yeah. And so now she's a provider that. So whenever we can hire within the community, we're better off. And
all right, well, thank you for all of the informative information. I guess we have the treasurer waiting here, but
okay. A couple things, though, to know is that your clients increased in this county more than the other counties, 19%. Therapy hours increased by 3%.
Yeah, where are you getting those numbers?
From the medical records.
Yeah, I guess the 19.
That's therapy services.
So that's not the 700 number.
In 2018, the number of clients increased by 19% and therapy hours increased by 3%.
But 19% of 5 people is different than 19% of 100 people, so I'm just wondering where you get that 19%. And when you have clients listed here, but then you have services by county, but the clients are total, but they're not by county.
What it's saying is there's more clients and there's more services.
What's the number?
Yeah, we asked for that. I'll have to go back. The other thing that I will leave you with is that the initiative that we have. So we talked about the state funding being low. The state has now seen what happens when they cut. They're having backed up state hospitals. They're having backed up youth residential facilities, and they're having backed up foster care. They are now working to adequately fund the mental health system. So for the county, what you need to know is combined, we're still, across the 5 counties, we're still short. We're 17 to 20% increase in the number of uninsureds. So in order to adequately keep growing what we're doing, a lot of what we do is not revenue producing in Lincoln County right now because of what your need is. And in order to keep providing that and growing it, we are growing it, but in order to keep that momentum going for you, I wanted to bring out the last page, which has the grid of your funding and shows you where your 5.51% across the board, county commissions are giving their CMHC 7.5 per capita, $7.50 per capita. You guys are at 5.51. And so at some point, we are growing and you are getting great return on your investment, but at some point if we don't keep that moving with what the need is and the number of uninsureds we're serving, then we're going to end up in a place where you start losing that good return on investment, and I just don't want that to happen for you. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
No.
Okay.
Thank you for the job you do.
Thank you.
Leann?
there's the fund balances.
Thank you.
Basically, this is the history, and this is what our ask is, 3%, we prefer 5%, and then that's the difference, so we haven't talked about this much difference. Okay? Excuse me.
Does that mean this is the first quarter already, huh?
Yeah, and I'm a little late getting here.
Yeah, you're halfway through the second one.
Yep.
Okay. Interest earned, idle funds, first quarter, Bank of Tuscan, $8,592, Citizens, $12,110. Balance in Bennington State Bank, or is that the interest earned at the bottom? No, that's the balance, huh? Interest earned is $2.38. Why?
Yeah.
Oh, that's by month on the, this is still by month, totals earned,
Yeah, by month and then the total.
then the total for the 3 months, okay.
Correct.
So, January, February, and March, 6,588.27, 5,926.04 cents, 8,109, I was gonna run, 190.67 cents, for a total interest earned in the first quarter of $20,704.98. That was idle funds. These are your CDs and,
It's the Pittard Children's Fire Department's wind
Okay.
farm.
so. First quarter CDs for both Bank of Tuscan and Citizen State Bank, $4,920.34.
That's for the Pittard account. Just the Pittard.
For the, I'm sorry, I didn't read the headline, for the Pittard Bequest Fund.
Yeah.
Same thing, first quarter total for the Children's Health Endowment Fund for Bank of Tuscan and Citizens, $1,582.32. And rural fire districts, special equipment, money market and savings, $821.43. Reappraisal consultant, they have a separate account, I noticed that.
Mhm.
And what is that held for?
Why do we hold that, Dawn? Why do we hold a special account for the reappraisal consultant?
It's a retainage fee. So in his contract, we withhold 10% out of each month's payment, and then at the end of his contract period, he gets
Oh.
paid that out with interest. So it'll accumulate interest, but it's our
That
guarantee.
wasn't in the contract. Not the one we just looked at.
I have no idea. It's always been that way.
Huh.
I think it is.
He
in
just
the
gave us a
contract.
total, when I read it, it just gave a total amount and the services to be provided.
And I think it says that there was retainage. I don't know, you guys
No.
didn't give me that resolution back, so I'm bringing it back to you to sign. So one of you guys still have it,
Oh, that means I
and
have
if not,
Okay.
then we can read it at that point.
it. Okay. Okay, Wind Power Economic Benefit Fund CDs.
So we, we average in about 21,000 on wind tower a quarter in CD interest. That's pretty consistent, right?
And the money markets, yeah.
money market,
That's on the balance of 4.4
yeah.
million.
So we get about 85,000 a year in interest on wind tower CDs, interest.
And the motor vehicle fund report, the March 31st fund balance is $8,605.47, with a total income having been $10,705.36. Expenses were $2,099.89.
You have any questions, Alexis, or anything else?
I don't think so. I had one thing I wanted to read for you from Ellis County. I thought it was interesting. The Ellis County Treasurer put out a newsletter, she calls it, and I think she's new. But
Yes, she is.
it's very interesting. I thought it was informative. It says, thank you for the opportunity to be your treasurer. The responsibilities and duties of this office have been both challenging and rewarding, as this is the first year, and it has yielded great things. Since my election, I've initiated several earnings and savings practices that total over $1 million, including the $250,000 savings from the first major staff restructure, the other savings and investment idle funds, $330,000, new initiation of annual tax sale. This year's total collection since initiating is $326,000. New delinquent tax collection processes and garnishments, $73,000. Second staff restructure, March of 18, $10,000 in savings, and cancellation and solicitation of bids for various procurement contracts, $41,000. So I just thought that was interesting. She goes on to give a little more explanation of her, I guess, how she sees her position as treasurer and how it relates to the commissioners and whatnot. I'll give this to you to read, but I was just thinking, we are moving forward with our tax sale, correct? And how's that process coming, or?
We've had some property redeemed.
Okay.
Got a lot of phone calls coming in.
Okay.
I think a lot of properties will sell.
Really?
Yeah.
And when did we set that? When did we set that?
I don't think she set a
Not
date,
yet.
September-ish possibly.
Okay. Okay. But you had, if I remember right, when we initiated this last year to get a tax sale going, I think it had been, over 9 years, maybe, something like that.
Probably.
And you said there was a pretty high response rate initially, correct? You had people come in and kind of to catch up for
Yes.
the first part. So now we're getting down to the point where we know some are not just going to address it at all.
Yes.
Okay. That's what I have.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. I think we're ready for you, Michael. We have you on for 15, and then we had a break. So if you just want to go over what you have for us specifically, and then are you going to come back for the?
I believe so.
Yeah.
It's what,
About an hour.
12, 15?
Yeah, about an hour.
I think that'd be the best. OS 87, we did get opened up last week. 105, there's a good chance we may get it open today. They should be installing guardrail today, so it won't be completely done, but they should be able to open the roadway and still be able to do the seeding and stuff like that with the roadway open. So, I had a article I was going to share with you guys. Maybe you guys have seen it. I thought it was kind of interesting, from the county comment from Norm Bowers and some information he's received from the state, from the new Secretary of Transportation. So if you guys, I don't know if you guys get that publication or not,
I
so
do not.
I figured I would share it with you. This last week, I did multiple meetings with my employees and had to sit down and discuss some options and ideas and stuff with them. and there's a very good chance that I'm going to do some shifting around of employees and whatnot within the department. I don't believe there'll be anything that needs wage adjustments changed on. It'll just be job title or location or something like that. So we also discussed the
Well, what is your plan for that? A little more specifically.
I don't have that all put out yet, so I want to.
Well, what was discussed with them?
The fact that they may be moving to a different position or something like that, or a different location. And we visited about a bunch of other stuff, so.
Are you referring to changing, like a motor grader operator from one route to another, or?
Potentially some of that, yes. And might be somebody going off the motor grader that was once there.
And that's not a wage adjustment?
No. So.
So what is the status then with the bridge crew? Is that something that you're also restructuring since you
No,
took the bridge crew
not at this
foreman?
time. That's temporary.
So you don't know what you're doing, yet you talk to all the employees about it? I'm a little confused.
Well, I'm not gonna divulge everything in a public meeting until I can discuss it directly with the individuals that will be involved. We haven't got to that point yet, so.
So you met with just part of them?
No, I met with every one of our employees at the highway department. So. And something else we discussed in that meeting is the way we have our supervision structured. I believe, and I believe unanimously, I didn't have anybody that said that it wouldn't be a good idea that we have a little bit more structure, and the idea of having matrix style structure where it comes down from Public Works and then the road and bridge supervisor being the department head, and then having a blade foreman, which would be an additional position, and then having a gravel foreman, which would utilize somebody that's in the position within the gravel crew, you know, whether it's truck driver, dozer operator, or loader operator, depends on how that would all work out. And also the bridge crew foreman, which we do have, but he's doing something else at this moment. But having that structure set up is going to alleviate a lot of other issues that we're having with communication and getting things done on a more concise basis. And with the adding of the position of the motor grader foreman, I think it would be greatly beneficial for being able to do training and stuff like that. It seems like that is something that is definitely.
We've had some complaints
Yes.
about that, so if we can improve, that'd be great.
I think it would be
Yeah,
very
probably good.
valuable.
yeah.
So, I don't know how you guys are going to perceive it or allow an addition of a position within the highway department to achieve that, but I would definitely like to hear some ideas and thoughts. And yes, it's possible, no, we're not going to do it or whatever, you know. I know money always comes into it, but I think that this is going to be one of the best ways that we can get the training out there.
I think you have an opportunity now to do some restructuring since we are in kind of a limbo of no assistant hiring, so I would like to see your plan. Certainly not opposed to look at it.
I think it needs to be presented on paper.
Okay, yeah.
And we were still in the process, right, of trying to eventually get us another highway.
Well, you were gonna bring
Yes.
us the job description,
Yeah,
so.
for a supervisor, yeah, we,
And I do not have that done yet.
Yeah, I mean, we just need a couple edits from you as a starting point, and
Yes.
we can surely revamp it
we're
ourselves, but,
still planning on doing that.
yeah, that needs to happen next week.
But we've been pretty busy with a lot of stuff, so kind of been
Then we
pushed
can
back.
get an ad out specifically.
But yeah, a plan like that, Michael, I think it'd be good, like you just said,
Okay.
and kind of an org structure, organization structure, and how a highway guy would fit in, or what you think would be good, or a supervisor. Then we can go from there, and discuss it.
And then put feelers out to 3 of our equipment manufacturers on a used excavator. And I've only had one that's come back to me so far. Hopefully this week I can get back from the other 2. And we can hopefully have some numbers to work with there. The one company did say that they are willing to do a 3-month rental to see if we like the machine and it's the right size of machine, and they would apply 100% of that rental expense to the purchase price. And I do know that we have numerous locations that would be very handy to use. After this high water, we have numerous places where our low water crossings have caught debris that needs removed. And also one of the biggest things beyond that is being able to get the quality deep gravel out of one of our gravel pits. I think that is invaluable at this point in time as far as being able to provide the quality of gravel that it needs to be. So.
Now, when it comes to these excavators, they have different sizes, right?
Yes.
From, I noticed, because I was looking at bigiron.com here recently,
Mhm.
the auctions going. They have ones, some small ones, I guess, for like $5,000. That must be the little ones for
Yeah.
used and stuff. And then you can get up to what, 200,000, 300,000, 400,000, right?
Yeah.
Depends on how big.
This is considered, I think, the class of between the 25 to 30 ton, but it's closer to the 30 ton.
Which is a big one or a
Yes.
bigger one? Obviously.
So, who do you have in mind for operating?
This will be something that's probably going to get moved around with the bridge crew, but if it's working in a pit, it might be my dozer operator.
Does that need special training for running one of them things?
Not really.
No.
Have you run one?
I have.
So,
Just briefly. I'm not
because we want to get
spent a
somebody,
lot of hours on one now.
Where did you get to run one of those? We
At
don't have
a-
one, right? Or we never
no.
had one.
Well, we used to have one years ago.
You drove that one?
No, that one I did not. I've been at equipment demos and had the opportunity
right.
to operate.
So you sat in one at a demo?
What's that?
You sat in one at a demo?
Correct. Yes, I
Like
have
a
not.
sales event?
Yes, it was.
You didn't actually operate an excavator?
No, yes, we got in and was able to utilize
he
it.
test operated it. That doesn't
Yeah.
mean he worked with it all day.
No.
Out in the pit.
Yeah.
But I'm just wondering how complex they are to operate. And if you got a $200,000 or $300,000 machine here, we probably should apply training to whoever's running it, right? So that
I agree.
we don't have accidents or things like that. That's all.
Yes.
Are you planning on assigning one of the employees now to the bulldozer when we figure out what is going on with that?
Very close. Sometime this week, yes.
Who do you have in mind?
I'm not going to make that public at this time. I think that's only fair. I have not made it available to the rest of my staff. I don't think they
Have
need
you
to hear about it here.
researched where you want to train them or how you're going to incorporate some training for that position?
Prior experience, I don't know where I would seek out any additional training, I guess.
Would, if you could get it from the people selling it, would they have any training?
They can go over the controls and
Yeah,
everything
they
with
hopefully
you,
they would.
but techniques and
No, yeah,
styles and
right.
stuff like that, yeah, they're not
They
gonna.
can instruct
But
you how to run.
But
it,
if there's any questions on
Sure.
any
A
of the
lot of these-
operation of the,
Right, a lot of these machines now are very complex. Some of them, if you get newer stuff, computer controlled, this and that, just like combines, you almost need to be an engineer to run a combine now with all this stuff, with mapping and
Button
stuff.
pushing.
I mean, really,
I know.
but you don't need,
Yeah.
but so little training courses.
I was under the assumption when our last bulldozer operator left that there was only one other person who had ever prior had experience with operating a bulldozer.
I don't believe we said there was only one, but
Or is there?
there's several other
But
people
I think they
that
can
have
learn
had
it. They can learn
experience.
at Alexis.
Well, that's why I'm asking where the training's coming from.
Well,
Learning is a training experience. I mean,
Yeah.
are you a bulldozer operator?
I am not.
Okay, so you have to
I
find
have,
a way
I have ran one, but
at
it's
a
not.
demo.
No, the county's pit. I almost, I don't know, back in early 2000, I almost changed to that position at one point,
I think we would eventually, that's a detail we could work out.
Well, I would say that the last time that it wasn't a detail that was worked out ahead of time, it was pretty disastrous for the county, potentially, you know, thousands of dollars. So I just want to make sure that we're on top of that. I think that's our responsibility.
Yeah, no, I know, you got a good point.
That's all I have at this time.
Thank you.
Thank the guys for their attention to the high water situations occurred last week,
Thank you.
especially in my area that I was well aware of. They were well posted. Spent a lot of time out looking.
Did you get my emails? I think I sent two.
Yes,
one or
ma'am.
two. And what is the conclusion there?
The quality of that gravel was not as good as it needed to be based on the fact that most of our good quality gravel is the stuff that's underwater. There was not near the aggregate in this stuff that I'd like to see, so we're gonna have to go back and we're gonna have to add some additional material to it.
What's been getting pulled out of the Zacco pit up there in that corner is just, there's a lot of muck. It's very
Clay?
Well, not even. I mean, it's
It's clay.
not even clay. If you look
Yeah,
at
that's
it,
what
it's,
we've had problems with, which I bitched about.
Yeah.
And, but he has to.
but you know, it kind of makes me wonder what testing was done on that, or why are you so sure that the gravel quality underneath the water is better?
Because we've used it in several other places, and you know, the first 3/4 of a mile on 50th Road that we did, it's standing up great.
That was where the water has accumulated now. That's where you were pulling it from.
Yes,
What you put on 50th is what is now underwater.
yes.
Okay.
Full of water. It's not underwater, but we excavated that gravel out of there with a backhoe, and we just can't afford to do that. It just cycle time and the amount of material we moved, it's not feasible.
And then I noticed that there was some gravel being hauled from the Zacco pit on the west side of the county, clear over here to the east, you know, at least north here of Lincoln some. Was there a reason for that? Are we unable to get in some of these other pits, or?
We've been
I mean,
not able to get in very many pits, that's correct. We had a loader there, we needed just a couple loads, so we hauled it over there. You know, I'm not gonna move the loader for 7, 8 loads of gravel and then haul it back over there to finish that project. We'll just move the material.
and this was like an emergency situation where you had to do loads now, and you didn't have other projects in that area once you could move everything to start pulling out of a more local pit.
We needed to try getting some gravel on it.
What happened to it?
It's like the other stuff, it doesn't have as much aggregate in it, and it just didn't set up.
Just in that one spot where you needed a couple loads?
Yes.
So nothing else around there was affected in the same way?
I don't believe so.
One rain cloud? I think there's some more pictures being posted now of some of that Zacco pit gravel, and I think that should probably be remedied. Do you have the test results from that? Did you do?
We don't do gravel
You don't do aggregate
formal
testing?
testing on it. We have not. You know,
That might be beneficial in the future.
all right, we'll hire an engineering firm to do that. I'm sure Tanner's place of business has the equipment to do that.
Or you could YouTube it and see that you can do it in a mason jar, but that's okay. Either way, you can bring the bill in.
Okay.
You've never tried that, I suppose.
I don't suppose I have, no.
Well, I'm a little concerned with the familial relation that you have going on there within your department and who's choosing from where the gravel is coming. It's a concern, so.
What do you mean? Explain to me, please.
I would suggest that we find multiple projects in an area and use the gravel pit as locally as we can, which was some of the holdup on the 50th Road project. Remember, we were saying how far away one of the pits was, so when the new pit opened up, we used the local pit.
That's correct.
So if you're going to say that we had an emergency that we needed to haul gravel across the county from, I would like to see a little more coordination.
So where are these locations you're saying this gravel was hauled to then? Clear across the county? Because the only place we hauled it was probably within 9 miles, 12 miles of that pit. So I would like to know those locations.
If you bring in the mobile 311 app and show
Oh
me
my God.
where the locations are that you've actually worked on the projects, then we can talk about the logistics of it. But I don't have a map to work with, so.
There's one right there. Could you explain to me where this was hauled clear across the county so I can justify my answer to you?
Right here, north on 14 on the west, and I don't know which road going west, but it was north of Lincoln, off of 14, right here. Would it be Union?
Union
Would it
Drive, yes, and that's just straight shot down the road would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 miles from the pit.
So what other pit is within 13 miles of there?
Oh, our closest pit to that location, that might be it.
Which now needs redone because it's about 6 inches worth of mud, and it's not really.
Yes, it's gonna need
Yeah.
some attention.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
there's
you.
about 7 to 9 loads of gravel put in that location that. Is there anything else?
No, I'll forward you more pictures if I get any more from any specific areas. There was one up there on, let's see. I don't know what his name is right now. I guess it would be at the very corner off of Yuma. And does that go just partial gravel down on, I guess they're listing it as 10th here.
The county line road?
Uh-huh. There was a call about needing some gravel in that very, very corner. I think from Yuma south on, would that be, is that what that's called, 10th? It looks like there's just partial gravel, maybe a quarter of a mile, is that right?
Okay.
I haven't been there, I have not been there, so I don't know.
I'd have to look a little closer at that, why it would be gravel, I guess, if no one lives there.
There's a driveway there
Oh,
off
is
of
there?
that road, so
Okay.
that it would be
They
gravel
live
to
outside
one
the county
person.
or something.
No, he's, I think, on the county line,
Yes.
right there. I don't know which way the house is, but I know the road is ours.
County lines can be difficult. Sometimes we take care of them, sometimes the neighboring county takes care of them. It's just a cooperative split that's been done over the years.
Okay, well, he called me, so I
Okay.
feel like we should respond.
No, that's fine.
And you can have your operator let you know what they think, but.
Alrighty.
Mike, several
Yes,
months
sir.
back, Tim Schrader contacted me. He said, I guess they own that Gruber pit, which is up in there somewhere.
Yep, I know where the general
He was
location.
wanting to, I didn't know, he was saying they would be receptive and maybe working with the county
Okay.
again about using that. And I don't know if that would be good gravel or, that way then maybe if you're over in the northeast side of the county, you'd have that
Okay.
option. I don't know if you wanna deal with that or not.
Yeah, I'll do some checking on that. I
You
do
might
believe
want-
the county was in there
Tim,
a long time ago.
yeah, that had been opened, he said years ago.
It's a
Outfield,
pocket area of gravel, that's,
Not very good, or,
well, there's pockets.
okay, pockets of.
There's
but-
not large volume
There's
areas.
not volumes, it's just pockets usually.
Okay, well, Tim was saying he would be open to the county,
Yeah.
talking to you guys, if you're looking for another source of gravel up in that country, that's all.
We're always searching, I guess.
I don't know any more details about it than that.
Okay. I will do some checking on that also.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have Council on Aging, Judy Ahlvers on
Judy.
the agenda.
Okay, this is the new budget. Oops. The one thing here it says get rid of Becky. For the last 3 months, this is kind of some stuff that she has done. Maybe you'd be interested in looking at. we've cut this down as near as we can. We're using our extra funds to supplement a lot of this. We have also pledged to the Vesper Community Center, I think that's what they're called, $3,500 if they come through with other funding. And yes, there's a CD, and we will cash it in December when it comes due.
Then you were gonna use those funds from that CD to help budget?
Yes.
That was
Okay.
how big, a $25,000 CD?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
On
I
our
went
other
to their
C-
last meeting. I went with Judy and you guys' last meeting. We discussed this budget. They have trimmed this down quite a bit from what we did.
Okay,
way
we had
before.
over 40,000, and then I
Right.
come down to around 30, and now we've got this one.
Right, and I've asked them to cut some other places and they have, I've seen. So I think they're,
Even the wages, we figured out the last 3 months of her wages was cheaper than what we had anticipated.
Is that because she's not putting in as many hours as was allotted, or how?
She's putting in the hours. I don't know how exactly we figured the shape of the month, how many days. But if it went higher than the 10,000, okay, we've got funds that we're gonna use. I mean, we're kind of estimating a bunch of this, so, but no, she's been putting in the hours.
and you have, for her, you have her budgeted so much per month, is that right? Right now?
What is she getting?
I think it
12.50
was
an
15 hours.
Oh, so much an hour?
times-
I didn't
Yeah,
know
Yeah,
if
it was hourly.
Okay.
It's 15
okay,
hours, I believe,
okay.
right?
I
Is that
forgot, I knew you brought it up.
three
I didn't know if it was
times
monthly
five?
or.
And, but you know, holidays in there
Yeah.
and this and
It's gonna vary, in other words, based on, the time she's doing.
Well, I will tell you that we have not distributed any of the senior mill levy money. We have a request in to the county attorney, and she was going to get back with us on her assessment of how that mill levy is supposed to work, where the funds are supposed to go, what the expenses are that it can cover, that kind of information. So we have not heard back from her on that.
I was under the impression you had given Sylvan some money already,
No, we have not dispersed a penny of.
2 months ago or
But we
No.
dispersed last year's, to senior center and to the.
Yes,
Sylvan Center.
2018
We
has
diver-
been fully
that was dispersed. But that was
But this
last
is
year's budget.
2019.
That was the end of last year's budget.
Okay,
We haven't
Yeah.
done any new stuff yet.
okay.
The
Alright,
first
just-
payment usually goes out in the beginning of the year, and we didn't do that. And then the second one goes out here in the middle of the year, or just, when is that, Dawn? Is it May, or the second disbursement, is that May?
Yes.
May, so now, but we haven't done either of them. So we're just waiting to hear back from her. She was going to do some research on the statutes and the actual mill levy itself, the public vote mill levy.
Well, we've trimmed as much as we can, and this is what we're presenting you,
Thank you.
okay?
Yeah, thank you, Judy.
And any questions on Becky's?
Well, I know Becky does a lot there for the senior center and for the Lincoln Council on Aging now.
I guess my question is the rent. And I see that it's $100 a month, but it's just kind of confusing to me that the senior center is getting their utilities paid by the mill levy, and then they're collecting $100 worth of mill levy money for that office. It's all the same money. I just kinda-
Okay, if we went and rented a storage unit for all these records that we're supposed to be
No,
keeping?
that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying to move.
Yes,
No,
what
I'm not
I-
saying to move.
yes. $100, that's helping pay for this room with all these records that we've gotta keep someplace. We're gonna have to, if not there, we're gonna have to go somewhere else and pay rent.
No, I think you're confused. I'm not saying move. I'm saying the senior center presents us a budget and we pay all their expenses.
Yes.
And so then this $1,200 is also coming from us to the senior center. But you guys are, like, we're giving.
We can either give it to the Council on Aging, or we can give it to the senior center.
But the
I
senior
mean,
center.
it's the money is going to the same place.
But
Some of it's just going through there, some of it's going through.
the
Okay.
senior center hadn't budgeted an income for rent when they offered us. That's what I'm saying. When we got a budget from the senior center, we were paying 100% of the expenses.
This is ridiculous. I'm sorry, girls. This is just utterly ridiculous. We're gonna have to pay the expenses, but we're paying the expenses for that building. Whether we give you $100 a month for you to pass over to the senior center, or whether we give the senior center the $100, it's all in the wash. I'm sorry. This arguing is just ridiculous.
All right,
We're moving
Give-
on.
give it to them, and we'll cross it off of here.
No, I'm just saying, we approved their budget, which was to pay for 100% of their expenses, and there was no budgeted income for rent, is what I'm saying. So it's
I
just,
have no idea about their budget, so I cannot say anything,
yeah.
okay? So, this is what we've presented. You have
Thank
a
you.
good day.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, we have OCCK. Would that be Claire?
Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
Calm down.
I'm not sure if Kelly's joining or
Yeah,
not.
she's right behind you.
Oh, there you are. Okay.
Hello.
I printed off.
Thank you.
Do you want one of these by chance?
So, we had come and gotten your guys' approval to place a rack of 5 bikes on the county courthouse square. And so we just needed to determine where we were gonna get the funds to pay for the concrete. Kelly went ahead and applied for the web grant funding, and we received that, $800 to pour the concrete. So, Kelly went ahead and, I don't know if you did this with maintenance crew or who you guys did this with.
John Paul.
Okay, so they went out, and these are the different locations that were kind of selected, and after determining that, deciding that let's see, option 4 is probably the best option. It keeps it out of city right of way. And then there's still easy accessibility for when people are checking out bikes, they can just automatically back them up onto the sidewalk.
Oh, you mean number 3 is city right away?
Yes.
None of the other ones are though, correct?
Yes. No, it was-
Not on the inside of the sidewalk. Just
So
on the
3 and
outside.
4 were kind of the two choices that we felt were the best, and then after discussing,
Okay.
they felt that
The inside the sidewalk is
yes,
what you're saying.
is the best option. So we just need to go ahead and get this approved with you all that this is an okay option, and then we'll get the concrete poured.
Can I make a comment? I think it's very disrespectful to put it right beside the Veterans Memorial, especially with the fact that they invested so much money in it.
Well, and I guess with the number 4,
That would be right beside it.
Okay.
Like anybody that's taking pictures is gonna get pictures of those bikes.
okay.
I
I guess I felt that it was far enough away, but if it needs to be scooched over a little bit further, we can do that. With number 1 and 2, at first when I walked out there, I was like, oh, you know, this would be kind of a convenient spot for it, but it was, there's just so much stuff going on that it's just like,
What
that's
about
not.
on the other side, where number 1 is, what about on the other side of the side? Not to the city side, but towards the tree. Is that not enough room?
You know, it just kind of, when John Paul and I were working around, it just seemed like there's a lot of stuff going on there, and adding more concrete to it, it just seemed like,
On the front, like on the street side, is that what you're saying?
I guess anywhere between that 1 and 2 area, where if you even put it like, trying to map. You mean like here?
I was actually gonna say here, See where he's standing here? If you
Yeah.
that on the other side of this sidewalk.
You know, there's so little.
Yeah, I mean
It
the
just-
tree is there, but it's not. I mean this trunk isn't there, but
Yeah, and I mean, if that's where you guys want it, we could, but I just felt like this area and then this area, there's just
Well, you have two
so much
memorials,
concrete.
right?
It just is, I'm afraid it's gonna look like a lot of concrete and a lot of stuff. So,
I would agree with your choice. The only thing Don raises a good concern. I think we need to make sure that we have it far enough
Sure,
away
and that's no
that
problem.
it does not interfere with that memorial.
yeah, and number
but
two. we
anywhere
put
on
it-
that corner of the block, like you're saying, is visible for. I
I see
mean,
people stand on there and take pictures
Yeah.
all the time.
yeah.
I just think it's disrespectful to the loved ones' memories that are.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
To have, go down there and take a picture and have it be nothing but bikes, but that's just my personal.
I totally agree. I guess, I just felt like it was far enough away,
I
that
feel
number
like we
four.
meant them to be able
Yeah,
to
number
look at the
2 is
areas.
definitely too
Oh, yeah.
close.
Right.
I don't know whether you go about halfway between those two memorials.
That's where number 1 is, sort of. And I was saying maybe.
No,
on the-
no, no, no.
You mean further up the
Yeah,
with the-
just go north.
Is it
North.
Roaring? Is that?
The cancer.
Well, I thought the whole purpose to put it at the courthouse was to have it on Main Street. Wasn't that our discussion? I clearly remember that.
Yes, and I guess my goal is to have it as close to Main Street as we could, but I felt like on,
We're just off there. Like number 4, I think, pretty good because it's kind of away from the Veterans Memorial, but it's close access.
But
to
what
Main
Don's
Street.
saying is if you take a picture, if you stand, see where the memorial is,
Yeah.
and if you stand on the street side,
Yeah.
on the Main Street side of the memorial and take a picture, that is in your
The
view,
bike
currently in
things,
your
yeah,
view.
I
I mean,
see.
anywhere along that sidewalk's gonna be.
Unless we move it further north, like Ahlvers said.
But that's what
I
I'm
guess
saying,
I don't
north
know.
is away from Main Street.
yeah, if people take a picture of it, I don't know where they would typically stand to take the kind of the nice picture of it.
Everybody that I see stands at the corner.
To get the courthouse behind it?
Yep.
Okay. Well, if you want, if the approximate area of 4 is okay, I mean, I can stand out there, take a couple pictures of the memorial with the courthouse and just and make sure that it's far enough.
4 could be pushed further north, or 3 or 4.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
was
we
wanting
can
to
push
do
it
3 though.
far enough to the north where it's out of
It'd still
kind
be
of the
close
typical
enough to
frame,
Main
but
Street.
yeah, not,
It'd still be good access
down.
for people wanting to use
But
it.
I thought the whole point of our discussion was you wanted it visible for people coming through on Main Street. If you're not looking for it to be along the sidewalk that goes to the north on that west corner, you're not gonna see that passing by.
and ideally it would be on Main Street, but
So what about on
when
this
John
side?
Paul and I
I mean, that's
think-
super visible.
yeah,
one?
Right there.
Oh,
On the
well
other
then, well that's that Civil War
Oh,
memorial
there
there.
is one
Yeah.
there.
I don't think you want it to
Well,
distract from
5.
the front of our courthouse at all.
and
We don't want that.
the thing with 5
We
is,
agree.
that's where you have kind of the prettiest view of the courthouse with the least amount of trees, you know, where you can kind of, other than standing right in front of the courthouse, you kind of, when you're driving into the downtown, that's kind of the widest open view, so then kind of putting a bike rack right in the
Could
middle
you
of
come
it.
further to the corner though? If you look there, there's plenty of room to the corner.
Yeah, and then we
Put it
could,
over by
I
the
just,
Sheriff's office and then nothing ever gets stolen over there,
Right. Hey, and by the way, I was really inquisitive about all this supposed vandalism that goes on at the park, and there is none.
I don't think there's that much. It was just
Yeah,
a
there's-
speculation that if it would be out of the way in the dark, there could be.
there's
I
not,
think that's what it was more
yeah,
about.
it's not like there's
Yeah.
major
No.
vandalism, but they
Right.
do have.
But it's out of the
trouble
way in
with
the dark.
Well, they're
at night.
telling me, the sheriff's department told me that there's not. Everybody that responded to me said that there hasn't been. So I'm a little concerned because there either is or
Oh, I
isn't.
don't think there's none there. I was probably,
In talking with the city clerk, she was concerned about it, and in terms of the bathrooms, you know, like
So are
kids
they
getting
not
in there.
turning this into the sheriff's department?
I think
That's
it's
not a
minor
question
enough.
for you. I'll ask
Yeah,
her.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I don't think it's that bad, Alexis. It's just if there was concern if you put something out of the way in the dark more, there's opportunity, more things happen to it. Just a, you know, logical thing there, not that there is bad things happening down there now.
Well, are there light lamp posts on that road on, Third? Because
There's one at the corner, and then there's another one, kind of across the street where the alley and street meet. So I think between the two of them, you're gonna have enough light, between there. Actually, you can kind of see the shadows. I'm thinking that's a power pole and that's a lamp post. Anyway, there's a light at the corner, and then there's a light where the alley meets the street. And I can't remember if it's on the west side or the east side of the street, but between the two, I'm thinking there's
see
enough
where
light.
John Paul's standing there, you probably wouldn't catch those in a picture. Because if you were up against the sidewalk to the main street, I think your picture would not include, that would be almost peripheral to the, do you see where he's standing?
Yeah.
There?
Mm-hmm.
It's a 8 by 4 foot slab or what is
Like
it?
that, it's like those pylons.
I don't have this stuff.
It's
It's like those pylons.
14
Yeah.
feet by 7 feet. It just seemed like in that triangle, there's a lot of concrete. Or by adding this, and it's, when we laid it out, it's kind of like, oh, this is a little bigger than what I had in my mind. It's just going to add a lot of concrete. And so it just seemed like there's
Well, the concrete's going in no matter what. I mean, I don't think we can avoid that, right?
Right.
But we
And
don't
so I
have to
just
put
kind
it
of
all
got
in
the
one
sense
place.
from that corner, yeah.
Yeah.
It just, there's a lot of stuff going on, and so it just seemed like maybe it's better to.
And the city has a right of way all the way to the sidewalk. Is that what we
Yeah.
found out?
Yeah.
And they don't want that, or
I talked to Jess, and he prefers it on not in the city right away.
what's right here? I can't think in my head. What is that?
Wait,
Is
that far
just
north?
Right in, yeah, why, is that just
Which was
wood
north
chips?
further.
Yeah, that's north.
Yeah, well, that's, see, here's that same thing, here's 3. If you move that north, then we'd get away from, I think over here, I like number 3, and then put it maybe a little further north yet. And then,
I'm just saying, if you're traveling through looking down Main Street, you're not gonna see that to the,
Yeah, but we
if it's
could-
to the north. Which was the whole point of putting it on the courthouse lawn, is because the Main Street
but I
view.
think they'll have,
In fact, I think you're the one that said that.
they'll
Kelly.
have Google
Yeah.
Maps and it'll point them right to it. Right?
I mean, we feel like the county courthouse is kind of the hub of the community, and it's important to have it here. That's kind of OCCK.
And they could find it, they could drive around the corner, Alexis, and find it over there to the north.
Well, it looks like there are only 3 lampposts on the front, across the front. One is in that very southeast corner. And then one, it must be by the steps. And then one at the other corner.
You was preferring on the inside of the sidewalk or the outside?
Inside.
Like number 4 then?
Yes, yeah, that's the only difference between 3
I
and
mean,
4.
I would just say you'd think you'd want it under a lamppost where you could have light to see if you were returning it at night. I mean, you'd want that.
If,
the
after the
bulb
meeting,
above
if you
you.
guys wanna go out there and I can get John Paul and his cones again.
Look it over.
I don't see a
Yeah, I have
problem
no
with
problem with
this, except she said there's a decent picture you can get, but if it was over here, you wouldn't have
Oh,
it
you
in your
mean
picture.
clear on number 5?
Well, I mean, that's where you're gonna see it. If you're coming into town or you're driving Main Street, underneath all those trees on the road to the north is just my opinion. If it has to be at the courthouse because of visualization and light and safety,
Yeah, I wouldn't have trouble with 5, I don't think.
and you're right in front of the sheriff's department, how much more secure can you possibly get?
That, it seems like,
That's
once
where
you
pic-
kinda pass the courthouse, you're kind of out of the downtown now. I mean, you're putting on the accelerator and
Heading
yeah.
east, you mean?
Yeah, the west side of the courthouse, you're in the downtown, the east side of the courthouse, you're kind of,
Yeah.
But aren't they coming to
Past it.
park their car to get on the bike? Isn't that the idea? Or,
Well, if they don't have
Well,
a car, they're
yeah.
using it as transportation, so they possibly could be walking actually to get to the bike. You're not I mean, when we're looking at this concept, we're not looking at it as just a recreational, we're looking at it as a multimodal option for each of the communities. You have your general public transportation, now we're adding another component where you can use bikes as a way to move around the communities as well.
Well, I think anywhere on that southwest corner is close to the memorial, in my opinion, but, I mean,
Which one?
I said if you're going anywhere in this south, you yourself said there's so much going on there, yet you're still putting it there, so.
Well, we're trying to
It's,
put it
you know.
as far enough away though that it.
I agree, but the one concern is the, Veterans Memorials. Wouldn't wanna be right next to that.
My thing is, I have a loved one that's on that, and we have a lot of people, and he has a lot of members that served in the military with him that come and look at that. And I don't mean to be mean, but this block is huge. Why do you have to put it on top of a memorial that means so much to so many people?
Well, and you can kind of see that whole corner is dedicated to that memorial. I mean, it's at an angle even. It's not even just, like this one to the front is kind of just, and the one in the yard is just kind of there placed. But that one is, basically, it's the corner centerpiece. So anywhere around there is part of that display. I mean, and if you want to go further north, I see the lamppost on this. Or no, that's
There's a lamp post on the corner.
no, that's not. That's a power line, I think.
Right
I don't-
here.
are there any
Right here's a
lampposts?
lamppost.
Yeah, there
That's
is.
a power line, isn't it?
Well, there too. I don't know what it is. You might.
There's one, I can't remember if there is a lamppost on the power line or if it's across the street.
See that.
Whatever.
Commissioners in there.
I mean, if you guys want to, after your meeting is over, or
Maybe
if
that'd
you
be good.
go for a break, we just walk out there. I mean,
Yeah.
we might as well.
That might
I
be
mean,
good.
that, you probably have to head out.
I can, I have come the whole morning, mid-afternoon, so I can wait around and walk out with you.
Okay.
All right.
Whatever needs to happen. So-
Thank
So
you.
what time are you,
We are going to
Breaking.
be in session until 1, and then give or take a few minutes, depending on how long it takes us. We have 45 minutes set aside to do evaluations. So if those run
Okay.
over, we could be a little bit over, but not much past that. I would
Okay.
say.
Sounds good.
so we should just plan 1 o'clock, we'll meet
Sure.
out somewhere?
A little after.
Okay,
Yeah.
How about the steps out here?
okay, that'll work.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks. I'll take a break here. Drags on and on, huh?
It's ridiculous.
Oh, I think it's terrible. I think, I agree. I don't like it either.
There's that, I don't know where the original resolution went. I don't think I got it back though. And I don't know if Rhonda took something out. But we've always had a retainage fee with them.
Hello. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I guess so. Of the country? No.
to go into executive session to do the, evaluations. We have 45 minutes scheduled. Would you like to appoint Mr. Levin back to the repeater board? That's,
I'd move we appoint Mr. Levin to the repeater board.
I'll second.
it's been moved and seconded to retain Mr. Mark Levin to the repeater board. And that would be 3 years, right, Dawn?
Yes.
For a 3-year term. Any further discussion? If not, those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
None opposed. Motion carries. And we did the abatements. I think that's it. Did we have... This was the budget, and then this was the public hearing. Okay, so we need to do an executive session for 45 minutes.
Okay.
You recycle the paper, is that what you said? Would anyone like to make the motion?
You want me to?
Dawn, do you have the folder?
Yes.
Okay, sure. Yeah, it would be number 1 under, for the.
I'll make a motion to go into recess into executive session for 45 minutes for the purpose of discussing personnel matters of non-elected personnel pursuant to KSA 75-43192B, number 1.
I think we need to say highway department evaluations.
For highway department evaluations, to reconvene into the courthouse commissioner's room, and for the people to go into executive session would be, who elects us, just commissioners and highway department supervisors, or public works director,
And I believe HR.
and HR.
I'll second. If there's no further discussion, those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
None opposed.